Here's what you should do with your money. The answer is, I don't know. But honestly, every week someone asks me, a stranger asks me that I don't know. I don't know their situation, their goals, their life, where they live. I don't know them. Like, it'll be a request in my DMs. I probably get 200 on average a week, not asking what to do with money, but 200 DMs that I see at a minimum. But they will ask me, what do you think I should do with my money? And I'm thinking, why the fuck are you asking a stranger on the internet? But that's what people do, right? And I wanted to unpack in this maybe what to be thinking about. Now, for some context, I am a chartered accountant. I am an accountant. I'm not a financial advisor. I don't advise people on where to invest their money. But in business, it's kind of similar. I can apply the same thing. So I am allowed to educate business owners on how to deploy their capital and what to do with them. And in the business space, it's a bit easier because what we do with Next Advisory here is we start with, what are your goals? What are you trying to achieve? And then it makes it simple for me to understand what they need to be thinking about doing with their cash. So as an example, I've got a client who their goal is to grow their business, improve the profitability, and then strip the cash out and clear down debt in their personal life. So that's what we focus on. How do we increase the revenue? How do we make it more profitable? And then what's the maximum that we can take out after paying taxes, of course. And so that's what they do. So they're constantly asking, hey, what's my profitability? How much tax do I need to have set aside? Boomfa, and they pull the rest out. And so that's what they do. They're clearing debt. So that's their goal. So what I get them to do is I get them to track their debt decreasing so that they feel like they're making progress, because it can suck clearing debt when you feel like nothing's really happening. When a number on a screen goes from 700,000 to 600,000 in 12 months, you're like, okay, 12 months has been, and I don't have anything to show for it apart from my decrease in my debt. But that's probably a story for another day. I suggest that all of you track your assets increasing and your debt decreasing. There's a template in week 2 of Money Mail if you want to find that, but it's very helpful. It's probably even down there in the comments. My team will chuck it in there for you. But what that allows them to do is then be very laser focused on what it is that they're trying to achieve. Now, then I have another client who, what they're trying to do is they're trying to invest into more people, and they are trying to scale, and they're trying to find more clients, and they're trying to make more money, and they're trying to grow something over time and then sell the business. So constantly we're having a conversation with juggling the leftover cash of, okay, where does it go next? Are we putting it into marketing? Are we putting it into, hiring the next person? There's going to be a lag before they become profitable. So we need to ensure that you can still pay all the bills, and they're going to need a desk. Are we going to need bigger office space? All these sorts of things. So it becomes a little bit trickier, but it's still pretty simple. And the idea is, okay, we use the money to deploy it towards our goals, so we're making progress towards the things that we want to achieve. Now, it's no different in an individual's life, but what happens is most of us don't have any bloody goals. So then we don't know what we should do with the money. So all the time I get questions like, hey, I've got 20 grand, what should I do with it? I'm like, put it towards your goals. And then no one replies. Oh, okay, sweet, cool, thanks for wasting my time. But I'm at the stage where I probably have to stop responding or replying to these people, but I'm trying to be helpful. But just like, how do people not think about this stuff? Similarly, someone's like, hey, we've got 80 grand left to go on our mortgage. We're about to inherit $20,000. Like, what should we do with it? I'm like, put it towards your goals. Like, I don't know. But these people are going to then go and pay and speak to a financial advisor as well, which is good because they're going to get some help. But it's like, think about this stuff before you go and speak to them, It's, if you were going to go to a physiotherapist, for instance, you wouldn't sit down and they'll be like, why are you here? How can I help? You're like, I don't know, man. But they'll be like, what the fuck? Like, what do you want me to do for you? You don't go to the doctor and be like, oh, hey, just thought I'd come and check in and see how you're going. It'd be like, can we diagnose something? Like, what's the outcome you want from coming here? But when it comes to money, so few people actually have goals. And so then they're looking for this magic advice on the internet from some dickhead with a YouTube channel, a podcast, an Instagram account or whatever. And they're like, oh, I hold you in high esteem, so I thought I'd ask you. Well, no, ask yourself, what are your goals? Money is a tool, nothing more, nothing less. Money is designed to flow to the goal that you're hoping for. If it's clearing your mortgage, well then you're probably going to try and pay down your mortgage. But then you're going to watch a video that's like, nah, you should invest instead. So then you're stuck. You're like, oh, should I invest? Should I pay down debt? Who cares? Like, stop overcomplicating it. What's your goal? What do you want? I want to be mortgage free. Well, then fucking pay the debt down. Like, get the goal. Go there. Like, let's do it. But I think people want to, like overcomplicate all this stuff because we're then looking for the best thing to do, and the other thing that I see too is in 3 years' time, when gold's gone from 2,500 to 7,500 people are like, oh, I knew I should have brought gold. And it's like, but you weren't going to. You didn't even buy any. So why are you worried about what the price was 3 years ago? And those people as well, they're not like, if gold goes to 1,800, like, oh, they never come to you and say like, oh man, thank God I didn't buy gold, So I think people with money like to confuse all of this stuff and make it more complicated than what it is. But for me, I set a goal once to save $100,000, and basically it's boring, but it was simple. Everything that I had that was left over, I'm like chunk, 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 and then I just like write the figure. Okay, I've gone from 10 to 12,000. Okay, 12 to 14,500. I did that all the way through to 100K, and I'm not like, okay. On that journey, I guess I was starting to learn, like, what am I going to do with that? So I started, like, putting in a return deposit and things to get a little bit of interest dripping out. But you've got to know, like, what you're doing to start with so that you know what you're aiming for. So then the stuff behind that becomes a lot simpler. And I've done podcasts with financial advisors, and they say the same thing. They're just like, well, yeah, you need goals. Like, you need to know where you're going. And then the plan becomes a lot simpler. Think about it as someone who's going to the Olympics and they want to win a gold medal. Like, that's their goal. Then how do they reverse engineer that? So I think, my warning to you, if you're stuck at, asking random people for advice around your finances, be really careful. Like, they don't know you. They don't know what you want. They don't know your situation. And I mean, I could be like, oh, well, do you need that 20K? Let's just say I did give financial advice, right? Which I don't, but let's just play with it. So I'm like, oh, do you need that 20K? Nah, I'm pretty happy to take some risks. Okay, like roll it into this crypto that I heard was real good. Okay, it goes down 80%. Wicked. Okay, now you've got $4,000 left. Then next week, your dad dies. Sorry, but we're going to go there, right? Oh, funeral's 10K. You're the only one in the family. They're like, hey, you need to pay for that. You're like, well, I can't. What do you mean you can't? Well, I put it all in crypto. What are you doing? Why did you do that for? Oh, this guy told me to do it. You're not going to take ownership. You're going to be like, oh man, I should never have done that. And then what are you going to do? You're going to have to finance your dad's funeral with debt because you've taken advice from some stranger on the internet. So I just think we need to, get a bit more real about this shit and actually spend some time ourselves. Like, take some fucking ownership individually to be like, what am I trying to achieve? And then have that conversation with your partner if you've got one, or yourself in the mirror if you're single, and just be like, okay, well, let's get on the path. Let's just take the actions that are going to get me there. And then from there, it's like, how bad do you actually want that? Because when temptations come along that you should spend that money on, or when the overtime's there and you're like, oh, I can't really be bothered, then you decide, that's when you signal with your actions how keen you actually are to achieve those goals. So I guess my key point here is to just be careful by asking silly questions. Now, I'm going to call it a silly question because if you haven't put any thinking into what it is that you want, then how can someone help you? And recently I spoke with a business owner, for instance, and they were doing this and we're doing that over there, and we brought this bit of land and all this stuff, and I'm pretty stressed out at the moment. And I'm like, yo, bro, like, what do you want from your life? And they're like, oh, that's a really good question, eh? I'm like, how is that a good question? Like, how have you not asked yourself that? And how is it not normal to ask ourselves that, or to talk about that stuff with our partner, with our family, with people that we care about, with our business partners or with our friends and shit? Like, those are normal conversations to talk about. Do you think that, like, the New Zealand women's sevens team, excuse me, do you think that they like turn up in Tokyo or wherever for the Olympics and they're like, oh, what are we doing here, guys? Oh, why are you here? Oh, what do you reckon you're going to eat this morning? No, like, they're there because they've had the yarn, they've trained to be there, they've got a common goal, and they're getting after it. And we sit there watching them on the TV and we're like, yes, wicked, they did it, that's brilliant. With whatever, I can't even remember where the Olympics were, no disrespect to the sevens team. Where were the Olympics? France, weren't they? But that's pretty normal, and we can apply the same logic in our lives. Yes, we might not be athletes, but we can still set goals. We can still, have some thinking about what it is that we want to achieve, and we can still go out there and take action to ensure that we get there. And guess what? The sevens boys, the legends, they didn't win. But they still went with the same game plan and it just come unstuck for them. But it doesn't mean that they're failures. It just meant that they failed once, but they keep innovating and they'll refine and they'll carry on. And we can do the same thing as well. But too many people, I think, are like looking for the miracle strike bowling ball. And it's like, you haven't even bowled a ball, man. Just the rails are up. Like, throw your ball and actually just get in the game to start with, rather than, being so hell-bent on hitting the strike. You're not going to be able to compete in bowling straight away. You're going to have to learn how to get better, and it is a learning journey. So I don't know why so many people, think with investing or with money that they're just going to have all these answers and knock it out of the park. You're not working at bloody Forsyth Bar, are you? You are trying to figure out your own situation and how you can ensure that you're getting closer towards your goals. But instead, we overcomplicate it, and then we go and get some stranger off the internet's information. Then we ask our parents, then we ask our cousins, and then we talk to somebody who said, don't do that. And it's like, okay, well, I'm stuck. And then you end up asking stupid questions that aren't actually going to help you, because instead of just finding out what's going to get you closer to your goal faster by thinking about what is your goal to start with and then figuring out, okay, well then how can I do that faster? You go and get all this information that you don't need. So start with what your goal is and then start thinking, how can I get there closer and how can I avoid temptation along the way?